Hey everyone, it's Lexi. So in today's video, I'll be sharing with you kind of my first half of the year book haul. So I have a total of 21 books here that I'm excited to share with you. Some of them I've already read. Some of them I'm just like waiting for certain times of year to pick them up because I like to kind of read. I'm a mood reader, but I also am like seasonally a mood reader. So some of these I'm like, I want to read now or in the summer. I'm going to prioritize kind of fall and winter. So that's kind of how these books are all set up. But without further ado, let's get started. First up, this is a book that I already read, but I wanted to get the paperback edition because I have all her books in paperback. And it is Great Big Beautiful Life by Emily Henry. This is her book that came out last year, but it follows two competing like journalists, reporters, authors that are competing to be essentially the kind of main author for this kind of infamous like very like famous starlet in her life story, and so it kind of goes from there. They obviously fall in love, all that stuff. This one wasn't like my favorite Emily Henry book. It was like basically trying to do like an Evelyn Hugo type like starlet background on this person, but I felt like it wasn't fully flushed out like The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo was. So I think because I was comparing that in my mind, it just didn't live up to my expectations. So overall, it was like an okay read. It wasn't my favorite, but you know, I still wanted to get the paperback edition just to kind of add to my shelf. Next, I have The Night We Met by Abby Jimenez, and this is kind of her next book in the kind of companion series. I don't even know what the name of this one is, Just for the Summer or Part of Your World. I don't know, whatever this one is called. But basically this follows two people who didn't really hit off on the first night that they met, but when the guy, the girl becomes, you know, girlfriend with the guy's best friend. And so they end up, obviously, the girlfriend and the friend start falling in love. And so there was a lot of like emotional cheating. So this one wasn't my favorite of this author, but it was kind of annoying, so you can read more about this one. So this one wasn't my favorite Abby Jimenez book, but it was just a little bit disappointing, but because I'm not a fan of cheating in any form, so it was a little bit hard to read, and like you could kind of guess what the kind of major conflicts were going to be, and there's just a lot of babying the main character, which I didn't really enjoy. So like I said, this one wasn't my favorite, so I was a little bit disappointed by this one as well. Next up, I have these two books. I really loved the first book, and so I immediately had to pick up the second one, and it is kind of The Shield of Sparrows and Rights of the Starling by Devney Perry. I don't even know what the name of this series is, but basically it follows this girl who was always kind of raised as like the spare daughter, because her younger sister was the one that was being raised and trained to be the Sparrow, which is basically the princess that is being married off to a neighboring kingdom in order to help form kind of peace between them. And when our main character is the one that gets chosen by this prince, the plan goes awry. She's kind of tasked by her father to essentially be the one that is to spy on them. And then there's a lot of political intrigue. There is like this, like, you know, kind of like cicada, like every so many years their like country is basically taken over by these like crazy monsters, and these monsters are just getting worse and worse. So there's like all this stuff going on, but I really enjoyed it. I kind of, like I said, obviously I marathoned the series. The first book ended on such a big cliffhanger, and the second book also ended on a big cliffhanger, so I'm excited for the third one coming out in March. My biggest thing was just there's a lot of pacing issues, but overall this is just a fun fantasy series. It really kind of gripped me, and I enjoyed it. Next up, I have View from the East Wing by Jill Biden, and this is her memoir of being kind of first lady over the course of the 4 years. This book was interesting. I think I just wanted more from it. I think Jill Biden is just really, as a fellow PhD, like I always just like and inspired by, you know, fellow PhDs, like women. So I always try to like support that, and I really, you know, do enjoy her. But I felt like this book was just a little bit too surface level. I felt like it could have gone into more kind of emotional depth, like I feel like Becoming by Michelle Obama did. So this one was a little bit disappointing, but nevertheless, I still kind of liked to learn more about her. Next, I have The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. This is her newest standalone novel, and basically it is a historical historical fantasy. So it's like a fantastical reimagination of historical event where we follow Anne of Brittany, who is the Duchess of Brittany, and France is wanting to kind of come and take over their kingdom. And so in order to kind of distract them, she plans to go on a unicorn hunt to find the elusive unicorn. And that's kind of just to distract the French while she kind of by proxy marries an archduke who will kind of help them. But there's something eerie about this unicorn forest that they're searching for. The unicorn reveals itself, and it kind of leads to kind of the unwinding of this kind of mystical, magical fae world, and it kind of goes from there. This one was really interesting. I love the historical setting and the reimagination. I kind of learned more about this era of history, which is always fun, and just I really enjoyed it. Similar to how I felt about The Bear and the Nightingale, which is one of my favorite series of all time. But the first book does take like 100 pages or so to really, are a little bit slow to, but after that it really kicks up from there. So despite it being slow, I really enjoyed this one as well. So this is one that I am currently reading right now, and it is This Kingdom Will Not Kill Me by Ilona Andrews. Basically, it follows kind of a modern day, woman in her 20s who lives in our world, but she ends up waking up in her favorite fantasy novel, basically, and in the world. And so not only is she trying to survive kind of this gruesome medieval fantasy world, but she knows what's going to happen to these characters that she loves. So she's trying to kind of reverse the fates of some of her favorite characters, and it goes from there. I'm only like 35 pages in, but I'm really liking it so far. My husband has read this as well, and he really enjoyed it, so I'm excited to see how I feel about this one. I feel like I don't need to talk much about this book because I've just seen this book everywhere, and it is Yesteryear by Caro Claire Burke. I don't think I need to talk more about this one, but I'm just really intrigued to see what everyone's talking about, so I definitely will be picking this one up soon. Next, this is the second book in the Martini Club series by Tess Garrison, and it is The Summer Guest. But basically the premise of this series is that it follows these kind of former ex-CIA agents who retire in this remote rural town in Maine to kind of hide from their past, to just like live their lives, how they want to, and kind of stress-free. But when their past kind of comes back to haunt them, it kind of goes from there. So this is kind of a continuation with the series. I really like this. The second book comes out in August, so I definitely will be picking this one up very soon. But I love Tess Garrison. She really got me into kind of murder mysteries and kind of the crime genre in general with the Resilient Isle series. That was like the first crime series I ever got into, so this author is near and dear to my heart, and I really loved all her works. This is one that I think is really interesting, and I'm very curious to see how I feel about it, but it is The Last Mandarin by Louise Penny and Melissa Fung. This one, Louise Penny is my favorite author of all time. She's the author of the Inspector Gamache series. She also has done like another book with Hillary Clinton, which is also interesting as well. So this is like another one where she's kind of co-authoring. But it says here, Alice Lee, a first-generation Chinese American, is a erstwhile food blogger who has lived in the shadow of her mother, Vivian Lee, a Chinese descendant who escaped China after Tiananmen Square. Vivian is now a globally recognized human rights activist and passionate advocate for a free and democratic China. When security and fire alarms go off simultaneously all around the world, setting off a panic, the signal is traced back to China. As world leaders scramble to respond, Vivian and Alice are called to the White House in hopes Madam Lee can decode the Chinese intentions. While it makes some sense that the president would turn to Vivian, since she regularly advises world leaders on the actions of today's Chinese government, what is not clear is why they want to talk to Alice. After looking at evidence, Vivian says that the only thing worse than the Chinese government being behind it is if they are not. It would mean, she explains, that some clandestine elements within China is calling the shots, that the president of China has lost control. And an unstable China cannot be good for anyone. So I'm thinking this one just seems really interesting. Like the one she did with Hillary Clinton was very much kind of not like a murder mystery, but a political thriller. And so this one, I'm excited. It seems like it's kind of more up that alley. I don't read a lot in that genre, but what I've read, especially from Louise Penny, I do enjoy. So this one I think will be interesting, a different kind of things to consider. So I'm really excited to see how I feel about this one. So we had a Barnes & Noble that opened near us a few months ago that is like 5 minutes away, and that is good for me but bad for my wallet. So my husband and I did like a little book browsing date, and these are the two that I picked up then. The first one is one that he recommended that he thought I would like, and it is Strange Pictures by Yugetsu, I believe, but he said this is a Japanese translation, and basically there's basically pictures and stuff that are tied to the crime and stuff like that. You kind of are like clues basically, so you kind of use that to solve the mystery. And so I don't want to know too much about this one, I just want to dive in, but he knows what I like, and so he recommended this one, so I'm excited to see how I feel. And I think having that like visual element of kind of like pictures with clues and stuff will make for a fun reading experience. And this is one that I've like had my eye on for a while, but I've been feeling like I've been needing to like lose myself in a series, and this one is well established, well loved, and it is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. This one, like I said, we all know what it is, but I've just been wanting to, like, I've been enjoying like my reread of ACOTAR and kind of things that have romance, and this being more of a historical romance, I'm really excited about. I know it's well loved. I know everyone loves this series, so I just wanted to see what everyone was talking about, and if it's one that I love, it's good to have like a series that I can kind of work on over the next few years, because these books are quite chonky. Next up I have Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy. This one is one that I'm really interested about because I've read her like memoir, basically, I'm Glad My Mom Died, and I think she's a really fantastic writer, and this is kind of her first kind of, I guess, like fictionalized book, but it basically follows kind of a high school teacher, I think, like grooming a high schooler. I've heard this one is really graphic and kind of borderline horror, and very explicit, so I think I just haven't read this one yet because it came out in the beginning of the year, but I've just I feel like I need to be in a good mindset. So I've heard really mixed things. People are saying it's like too explicit, like too much, so I'm very curious to see kind of where I fall in this, especially because this one seems to be very polarizing, but I think this is just a polarizing topic in general, so I'm very intrigued to see what I will feel. And it's also like fairly short too, like it's under 300 pages, so I'm very interested to see what this has in store. Next, this is another book that I'm really excited to dive in, but I feel like I'm waiting for winter to read this for whatever reason, and it is The Last Contract of Isako by Fonda Lee. She wrote the Greenbone saga, which I read a few years ago, and it's one of my favorite fantasy series of all time. I think it's such a well constructed family dynasty fantasy series, and so I'm excited for this one. But it says, on the merciless planet of Akilo, there where your job determines your worth, legendary swordswoman Isako commands the highest price, but every legend must come to an end. When her longtime client unexpectedly retires, she plans to follow, to walk out into Aquilo's frozen wasteland with her head held high and her family enriched by her death. But when she's offered a final mission, she can't refuse, especially when she realizes who lies at its centers, Martin, her last and worst apprentice, who's somehow made his way to the top. As she's thrust into a world of corporate espionage and shadowy secrets, what she uncovers could forever change humanity's existence among the stars. It just seems interesting. My husband read this one as well. He's a speed reader, so he is my book taster, but he said he enjoyed this one as well. He's the one who recommended me to the Greenbone Saga trilogy as well, so I'm excited to see what else she has in store, because I've read her novella as well, and I like that one, so I really just love her writing and her world, so I'm excited to kind of lose myself in her work again. Alright, we're kind of getting into the last 5 books here. We're getting into the home stretch. And so first up, I have The Bridge Kingdom by Danielle L. Jensen. This is one, like I said, I was looking for kind of a romantasy series to kind of lose myself in, and this is one that it seems like people seem to really like. I read her Goblin series like 10 plus years ago, and I really enjoyed it, but I haven't read anything else from hers, and this is one that people seem to really like. But it says, a warrior princess trained in isolation, Laura is driven by 2 certainties. The first is that King Arin of the Bridge Kingdom is her enemy, and the second is that she'll be the one to bring him to his knees. The only route through a storm-ravaged world, the Bridge Kingdom of Ithacana enriches itself and deprives its rivals, including Laura's homeland. So when she's sent there as a bride under the guise of peace, Laura is prepared to do whatever it takes takes to fracture its impenetrable defenses in the defense of its king. Yet as she infiltrates her new home and gains a deeper understanding of the war to possess the bridge, Laura begins to question whether she'll be the hero or the villain. As her feelings for her husband transform from frosty hostility to fierce passion, Laura must choose which kingdom she'll save and which one she'll destroy. This one just seems interesting. Like I said, I've been looking for a romantasy series, and so I feel like this is kind of what I'm looking for, and people seem to really like it. Next up, I have The Foursome by Christina Baker Klein. This is an author that I've read a few of her books from, and this cover I just think is so pretty. But it says here, when Ang and Chan Bunker arrived to Wilkes County in 1839, they're not just a curiosity, they're a sensation. Everyone is eager to learn whether the salacious rumors about them are true. Within months, the twins have opened a general store, bought land, and begun building a plantation. Now word has it that they're looking for wives, and in a place that thrives on gossip and legacy, their ambitions set the community on edge. Sarah and Adelaide Yates, daughters of the once prominent local family, brought low by scandal, are drawn into their orbit. Bold, beautiful Adelaide sees in the twins' frame a chance to reclaim her future. Sarah, quiet and observant, isn't so sure. When the twins' lives become entangled with theirs, the sisters must navigate loyalty, longing, and identity in a world where everything, including race, class, and gender, is rigidly defined. So this one I think like spans like 5 decades, and I love ones that are kind of like generational. You follow these characters for many decades, so I'm really excited to see about this one. I just like I said, the cover is so beautiful, and I've read a few of this author, and she does not sugarcoat, so I'm very curious to see how I feel about this one. Next, I have this book that was given to me by my sister, and she read it, she enjoyed it, she gave it to my mom to read, she liked it, and so now it's in my hands, but I think it will take a bit. But it's The Best Kind of People by Zoe Whittall, and it says, George Woodbury, a teacher and beloved husband and father, is arrested for sexual impropriety at a prestigious prep school. His wife Joan vaults behind denial and rage as the community she loves turns on her. Their daughter Sadie, a popular overachieving high school senior, becomes a social pariah. Their son Andrew assists in his father's defense while wrestling with his own unhappy memories of his teen years. A local author tries to exploit their story, while an unlikely men's rights activist attempts to get Sadie outside their cause. With George locked up, how do the members of his family pick up the pieces and keep living their lives? How do they defend someone they love while wrestling with the possibility of his guilt? This one I think just seems interesting. Like I said, my sister recommended it. My mom really enjoyed it as well, so I'm kind of waiting for fall to kind of dive into this one, but I definitely am excited to see how I feel about it, so I'm definitely intrigued. Next, my husband and I went to our local bookstore in town, and they always have good books. So my husband actually picked these ones out for me. We were kind of doing like a fun little date night, and so the first book he picked out is Mist Over the Channel Islands by Sarah Sundin, and this one says the German invasion of the British Channel Islands shatters Dr. Ivy Pycott's peaceful world, forcing her to shoulder the weight of her father's medical practice and hold together a family unraveling under the strain of war. As conditions worsen in Jersey with the arrival of thousands of forced laborers, Ivy's quiet allegiance to the Allies compels her to risk everything by providing medical aid to escaped workers, even as dangers close in. Dutch engineer and resistance member Gerrit van der Zee volunteers to build fortifications for the Germans so he can secretly send maps and diagrams to the Allies. On his arrival to the Channel Islands, he crosses paths with Ivy, who shows him contempt for the uniform he wears. As tensions mount and their missions grow increasingly dangerous, Ivy and Gerrit must confront the cost of courage, the meaning of sacrifice, and whether love can survive in the shadow of war. This one just seems interesting, and historical fiction, especially around World War II, I think is some of my favorites, so I'm definitely excited to see about this one. And then the next book that he picked up for me, he's read and really enjoyed, and it is Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang. I'm sure you've heard all about this book, but it says, for 20 years, Skyona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic, fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistracy at the University of Magics and Industry. When Siona finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. What neither Scorsia or Scori, I don't know how to say the name, nor her peers realize is that her taciturn assistant was not always a janitor. 10 years ago, he was a nomadic hunter who lost his family on their perilous journey from the wild plains to the city. But now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and keep the privileged in power. This one just seems interesting. My husband obviously has read this and he recommended it, so I'm excited to pick this one up. Alrighty, last 2 books, I promise. We're at the end now. First up, I have The Astral Library by Kate Quinn. I've read her, The Alice Network, which I've really enjoyed. I've read a lot of her historical fiction books, and so this one's kind of seems like it's a little bit different, and so I'm interested to see. But it says, Alexandria Watson has learned one lesson from her barren childhood in the foster care system. Unlike people, books will never let you down. Working 3 dead-end jobs to make ends meet and knowing college is a pipe dream, Alex takes nightly refuge in the high-vaulted reading room at the Boston Public Library, escaping into her favorite fantasy novels and dreaming of far-off lands, until the day she stumbles through a hidden door and meets the librarian, the ageless guardian of the hidden library where the desperate and the lost escape to new lives inside their favorite books. The librarian takes a dazzled Alex under her wing, but before she can escape into the pages of her new life, a shadowy enemy emerges to threaten everyone the Astral Library has ever helped protect. Aided by a dashing costume shop owner, Alex and the librarian flee through the Regency drawing rooms of Jane Austen to the back alleys of Sherlock Holmes' London and the champagne-coked parties of the Great Gatsby, as danger draws closer. But who does their enemy really wish to destroy? Alex, the librarian, or the library itself? This one, just like it says, is interesting because she is so, has been in historical, fiction. So I'm excited to see how this one that has, some sort of, magical realism, fantastical element to it, see how it goes. And lastly, this is a book that I feel like I've heard really great things about, and it is The Correspondent by Virginia Evans. This one is fairly short, but I know it's been getting a lot of praise. But it says, Sybil has throughout her life used letters to make sense of the world and her place in it. Most mornings around 10:30, Sybil sits down to write letters to her brother, to her best friend, to the president of the university who will never allow her to audit a class she definitely wants to take, and Joan Didion and Larry McCurdy, to tell them that she thinks of their latest books, and the one person with whom she writes often yet never sends their letters. Sybil expects her world to go on as it always has. A mother, grandmother, wife, divorcee, distinguished lawyer. She has lived a very full life, but when letters from someone in her past force her to examine one of the most painful periods of her life, she realizes that the letters she has been writing over the years need to be read, and that she cannot move forward until she finds it in her heart to offer forgiveness. This one just seems very interesting. I know it's kind of written by basically just with letters, so I'm very curious it'll be a fun reading kind of format. And like I said, I've heard really great things about this one, so I'm excited to kind of dive in and see how I feel about it. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I feel like I've been talking, I'm losing my voice with how much I've been talking, but I feel like I'm set for a good while. There's just been a lot of new releases coming out, but I'm hoping that for this later half of the year I can really kind of buckle down and tackle my TBR shelf back there. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments below what books you think I need to kind of pick up first from this haul. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you guys next time. Bye, guys.